Hi, welcome back to another art history video. In the past, I've worked with 120-year-old colored pencils, 90-year-old Crayola crayons, those colored pencils from the 1930s. And today, my friends, I am coming at you with probably what is the most exciting thing I've ever purchased, a 100-year-old watercolor palette. Now, besides like the Victorian era colored pencils, I think this is probably the oldest thing that I have ever worked with. Unlike the colored pencils, unlike the crayons, watercolor is a lot more unstable just because it has a lot more fluid in it. And even more concerning, as you're about to see, out of all the historical things that I've worked with, by far, this poor guy is in absolute terrible condition. You know what I mean? So today I'm gonna try my best to make some swatches out of it, see how well it works, see how badly damaged it truly is. And most importantly, if I am still able to get, you know, some like color out of it, I plan to make a painting with it. Now, in the past, people have absolutely came for me whenever I film these videos. The number one concern of these antique historical videos is,
how could you use this super rare, one-of-a-kind memorabilia? This belongs in a museum, not in your hands.
You know, totally understandable stuff. But as always with these antique videos, the art supplies that I'm using today, they're just old, they're not rare, and they're not worth any money. With shipping, it only cost me 26 bucks. If you haven't subscribed with notifications, I highly recommend that you do that because it helps me more than you will ever know. Now, in order for you to fully understand what you're about to see, here is an extremely brief history on Devoe watercolors. Now, the company started back all the way in 1754, when a man named William Post started selling paint by the East River in New York City. Fast forward over 100 years later, the company went through all different types of business owners, family members, names, and eventually it was co-owned by two businessmen named Charles Reynolds and Frederick Devoe. It ended up becoming an absolute beast of an art supply company. They were one of, if not the biggest artist supply paint company. I mean, at this factory, they were pumping art supplies out, which is why the art supply that I'm about to show you today is not rare whatsoever. And eventually this company comes to an end when over time they switched from making art supplies for artists and they switched over to making paint for construction. And they were sold to a company that's still around today called Celanese for a whopping $60 million. And this brings us to modern day, where I, in 2021, have one of their watercolor palettes from when they were at their absolute peak. Random piece of tape. Let me get gloves because I don't know if there's like lead or anything in this, so I need to be really careful. So I will be right back with some gloves. Oh. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Now, the first thing I want to say is I don't really appreciate the fact that they use like a stereotyped Native American to sell their product. I don't think that's right. Even though this was 100 years ago and the company no longer exists, it doesn't make it any less tacky and embarrassing, honestly. But the reason that I do want to take a second and acknowledge this is because it is history, and two, I just want to have a platform to say that this crap don't fly anymore. So yeah, usually I like to make googly eyes at the packaging and tell you how cool it is, but in this case, it's gonna be a no from me, dog. I'm like mad now. Like looking at this is making me mad. And it should make you mad too. Like what the hell? Why would you do that? Okay, anyway, we need to move on. Originally, this packaging was actually like a vibrant, bright green. And over time, it faded to this really dark green that you're seeing here. So that's really, really interesting. All right, let's open this up. Oh boy. Wow, this paint has, oh, it came with the original paintbrush. I mean, given there's no hair on it, but still it's the original paintbrush. That's cool. Wow, this is absolutely fascinating. And to be honest with you, I can't even tell what the colors originally were, which I'll try to guess without swatching them. It looks like we got crimson, brown, yellow ochre, sap green, carbon black, burnt sienna, some kind of blue, and I think originally this one, even though it doesn't look like it, I think this originally was a violet. Wow. But yeah, they are absolutely rusted over to the gods. I mean, whoever previously owned this showed this little guy lots of love. Oh, is that mold? Oh, brother, there's mold. There's mold. I think that's mold. Oh my God, what the I might need like a freaking tetanus shot after this. Now, as bad and beat up as each individual pan is, when you turn it around, it's actually in really, really good condition. Might I say perfect condition. Now, something that you don't see at all anymore is that this little piece that holds all the watercolor, this little guy right here, it's made out of metal instead of traditionally what you see now, plastic. And if you notice, it has 3 little divots where you can mix the paint, add some water, mix the paint, add some water. Wow. Now, normally I would say like, let's go ahead and jump straight into the swatches and see what the colors are. But this paint is so beat up, I think I need to clean it up a little bit before I could even start to use it.
Hey, tell me what it is, don't tell me what it ain't. They try to throw salt, it just made the pressure raise. Going through a phase, gotta get myself out it. Don't talk about it, boy, they said you gotta be about it. So I be trying to face the world head on. Front seat riding, cruising down the meadows. Pedal to the meadow, cool breeze blowing down the windows. Calm trees, blowing trees, get that boy some hedgeroom. On the interstate and traffic.
Okay, here we go into the mold.
For the night, what's the word now? What's the links? Hit me up, we could go now. I got hella pieces, she got hella features. Get me hella geeked up, she be blowing shisha. Reefer on me loud, hope them boys don't creep up. I don't know a thing if you do not speak up. In my own world, I don't try to keep up. Tell me what you want, don't be trying to front like I ain't what you want.
So I finished cleaning it up, and before I show you the after, let me show you the before. And here is the after. It's looking so much better, especially this brown right here. At one point, it was so rusted, I literally had to scrape away the rust because it was like fused together with the palette. And if you look closely, you can see where the pigment is separating from the gum arabic. It looks kind of like 2 different colors, so I'm a little concerned about that too. Let's swatch this bad boy out and see what a 1920s color palette would look like. Okay, here we go. The first one is a dark brown. Okay, so my very first impression, and I might be running my mouth too soon. I mean, this is literally just the first swatch basically, but it's not very pigmented, like not for what I'm used to. Usually watercolor is super pigmented and all you need is just like a little drop and you can get it to like be almost black, you know? And this is almost transparent. This one looks like it's gonna be a black. The black is a little transparent as well, which again, I'm not really used to. In fact, let me go show you what a modern day watercolor black looks like. All right, so we got the 1920s watercolor and then we got a modern day watercolor. Do you see how drastically different the saturation is? It's absolutely nuts. And here's what a brown looks like. But to be fair, it could be a variety of things. Like for example, some of these pigments might be natural pigments or like maybe very early versions of synthetic pigments. So maybe they didn't have like that same saturation, or it could just be time, you know, over the course of a literal 100 years, we're lucky to even have this kind of pigment coming out. You know what I mean? Okay, we'll go in with the brown. And this one was the really, really rusted one. I bet you anything, this one is probably a natural pigment, which is probably why it rusted so quickly, is because all the metal's inside it, you know? This one kind of reminds me of Mummy Brown, which if you don't know is a color literally made from mummies. I mean, mean, surely it's not made from mummies, right? We'll try out the purple. Oh my God, this color is absolutely stunning. Oh my God. Okay, we'll try a green. What an interesting green color. It looks distinctly different than like a synthetic pigment. It looks kind of like a natural earthy pigment. Really beautiful. Next up will be the yellow. If I can get any out. This yellow might be done for. I thought this was yellow ochre, but this one is not yellow at all. I mean, a little bit, but I mean, it's like brown. Whoa, that's so weird. Next up will be the red color, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not too sure if we'll be able to get any since it's kind of like empty, but we'll try. And lastly, we'll try out the blue. I mean, these colors are absolutely stunning. They're kind of muted, they're kind of bright. And these colors are just so toned down for watercolor compared to what I'm used to in 2021 version. In fact, let me just do some 2020 swatches, that way you guys can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so what I'm about to show you is important that I show you this because the colors on this side are obviously from a modern day watercolor palette. And as you're about to see, they look almost comical. Like they look like a children's TV show or something. Where do I even begin? It kind of seems like the colors back then seemed a little bit more sophisticated, you know, a little bit more close to their natural pigment counterpart. So anyway, now that I know what the swatches look like, I know what I'm working with, I know that these actually work and they clean up kind of nice. I've waited long enough to start the painting process. I'm gonna draw this photo because I think it goes with the time, and plus I think it's really cool. Okay, so unflattering angle time. So I've pretty much finished the drawing at this point. I will show you that now. And as far as the watercolor goes, it works exactly like regular watercolor does in modern day, except for two distinct things that I've noticed. The first thing is the water. If you look inside of it, you can see all kinds of particles that have fallen to the bottom, which is something I'm not really used to with modern day watercolor. The second weird thing is that while I was painting with this, I kept getting this weird, strong whiff of pure iron. So take that with what you will. And the very last distinct thing that I noticed was the yellow. Oh, it's kind of green, it's kind of brown. It has a perfect yellow, neutral, natural undertone. So incredibly beautiful. And the closest thing I could find was Deep Yellow by Peerless Watercolor Paper. But yeah, other than that, this watercolor was definitely an experience. I'm really glad that I got to mess around with it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I'll leave my historical playlist down in the description box below. If you like historical videos, subscribe. And yeah, with that being said, guys, thank you so much again for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you next video. Bye.